Hey, I'm Tommy Ellison, and this is Senior Moments. I can't tell you what I had for breakfast this morning, but I remember every detail of that time I came this close to being suspended my senior year in high school, just 3 weeks before graduation. So stick around. This is proof that some things from a misspent youth just don't fade away. Let's go. Well, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tommy Ellison on somebody's, somebody. I got somebody on the title there. On Senior Moments, Evidence of a Misspent Youth, episode number 36. And I was running late. Believe it or not, I actually started the broadcast on time, so I thought. I had a little bit of a technical issue go on right before I was supposed to start with my in-ear speakers and pods, like hearing aids, anyway, whatever. And they weren't working. So I threw on the cans here and thought, well, I guess I'll just do the show so I can hear myself and what's going on. So in the process of doing all that, I get started. I'm unloading the first, bits and pieces of all this. And I get ready to show a little video that you'll see in just a second. And all of a sudden, I look up at the screen and I realize that I actually never started the live stream. So that's why I'm late, about 8 or 9 minutes getting this thing started tonight. But I do appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you haven't left. And if you are watching it on the replay, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But that all said, I appreciate you being here. I hope all of you got through the holidays okay. It seems like we tend to get layered up more and more every year with things that you have to do. And of course, it's great to get the families together, but it's even more difficult to kind of get all the families together at one time, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure you do if you have multiple families and their families and remote families that try to come together during Christmas. So anyway, as I was saying earlier, one of the traditions where I go to church at the Baptist Church at McAdory is what we call our live nativity. And the title of tonight's live cast is Somebody Check the Goat. And you'll understand what that means in just a few moments. But in the meantime, I wanted to share with you a little bit about our live nativity. We've done it now for, I think, about the last 7 years. And in doing that, there's been multiple people involved. There's over 100, we call them cast members. Some of them are actually in biblical era costumes. There's others that are, supplemental folks that are working, preparing refreshments. And what our live nativity does, which is a little unique, I don't think I've ever maybe seen it elsewhere, is we actually have 6 or 7 large tractors that are pulling large trailers with bales of hay, and it creates for lack of a better term, a hayride through the wooded area behind our church, where there have been 7 scenes constructed representing different periods in the life of Christ, beginning with the Annunciation and moving all the way through the actual resurrection and then the ascension into heaven. And so all of these scenes are in the darkness of the woods as you progress through. And then as you arrive at the scene, the lights come on. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment when I run the reel. But I want to share a little bit about who championed this idea. And that was a lady who I came to be known. She was about, I guess Gaynell was probably about 5'1", maybe 5'2", if she tiptoes. And of course, I'm 6'4", so I always called her tall girl. And she liked that. But she was the champion of our live nativity. And Gaynell had been living out here in the Western section for many years. She was a writer. She was with the Western Sun, if any of you remember that newspaper. And anyway, just a real go-getter, and had a way of challenging people, and frankly would not take no for an answer when she wanted you to volunteer for something associated with the live nativity or any other project that she was working on. But she was the champion, I would call it, of this live nativity project that we did on 3 nights. It would be a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And this past year, earlier in December, our I don't know if you'd call it a success, but we always measure the number of people who come through, and that's always something that we kind of measure our success by, because we never know exactly what effect the story of Jesus has on individuals. But there was almost 1,000 people that came through on those 3 nights. I think it was like 980 something maybe. And so it's not that we don't keep up with it, it's just I don't remember the exact number. But this is senior moments, right? Nevertheless, Gaynell was the driving force that kept us all together. And unfortunately, Gaynell was ill this year for much of the time leading up to the actual live nativity project launching. And so she wasn't able to see the fruits of her labor and some of the new scenes that were constructed that she had wanted to build for this year's live nativity project. And so with all that said, I made a little reel for Gaynell to see. I got on a tractor and rode it through the wooded lot there behind the church and allowed her to see those scenes in a video fashion. So I wanted to run that for you now and let you take a look at it, and it'll give you a better idea of how that live nativity was produced and executed here. So be back in just a minute. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Gaynell Mara, a very special person. And she, shortly after our live nativity, her illness became grave and Gaynell passed away. And she she was a marvelous lady, and I'm sure she is in heaven now directing the angels and producing other projects that she took great pride in. And anyway, thank you, Gaynell, for all that you did for our church. And God has blessed you, and God is blessing you now as you stand in his presence. I know that to be true because I have faith in my Creator and am a believer. Um, so, with all that said, the magnitude. If you noticed in the video, there was actually a live camel that was out on one of the scenes, and there were a couple of other little smaller live animals out there, and of course, in the fellowship hall where the refreshments were being served to our guests after their tour through the woods and the scenes there. There was a little live donkey that one of our member friends brought, and it was about 3 weeks old, and it was a cute little fella. And fortunately, we had good weather. Had three great evenings to present the program, and I know everyone that came through enjoyed it, and those of us who were involved in it certainly were blessed by what we were able to do. Um, the irony, I guess, of being in that play, I wasn't actually a character. I was a character the first year I was in it. I was one of the wise men. And one of the little guy that played the boy Jesus, who you saw in the video, he when I came out, he didn't have a lot of expression in his face. I had the little box that contains supposedly the gold, the three gifts, the myrrh and the frankincense and the gold. And I was the wise man or the wise guy maybe, that was carrying the gold box that supposedly had the gold in it. And the first couple of times that I opened it to show him, there was no change of expression on his face whatsoever, because he was about 9 years old, little guy. I won't call his name because it might embarrass him. But the next night, I told him, I said, you have got to have more emotion, because these people have traveled 1,000 miles to bring you these gifts and to worship you. So when I open that box, you need to show that emotion, that what a wonderful gift, and show surprise. And what I did was, unbeknownst to him, I put a little rubber snake in the box. So when I opened it, of course, his first reaction was one of surprise. And he smiled, and he knew it was a rubber snake. I guess he knew that. But I guess if I'm lucky, he didn't maybe run off into the woods crying. But nevertheless, that was my only time I was actually in character. And the rest of the time I spent on the inside of the church playing music and kind of emceeing and DJing at the same time, and welcoming people and calling the wagons as they were being loaded. So it was a wonderful experience for me, and has been for a number of years. But every time we do the live nativity, I think back to a memory that I had when my girls were young, and my oldest was probably about 6, which meant my youngest was around 4. And so my wife and I, we got in the car, and we were going to take them to the live nativity up on the mountain near Hoover, where we live. Shades Crest Baptist Church had a manger scene set up, and like a wooded barn, on three sides, and you could see into the barn. And there was the manger, and there was Joseph and Mary, and there was some uh, wise men standing over in one area, and there were shepherds in another area, and they had actually placed a couple of little goats, little baby goats, that were tied to the back of the barn itself on like a handrail. And these goats were little. They were little tiny goats. And the ropes, I don't know, they were about a foot and a half long, just long enough to, stabilize them as they stood there. And during the storytelling of the live nativity and the music that was part of the production, unfortunately, and I got my buddy Chat GPT to draw this for me. The little goat that was in the very back, and this picture is not exactly accurate because the rope was actually tied to that handrail where the other goats were, but the little goat slipped down and fell on the ground and couldn't get his feet underneath him. Meanwhile, he's hanging from that rope, and I'm sitting there going, this rope, this goat is going to die right here. He's going to choke himself to death because the other people that were in the scene were all looking at the baby Jesus and looking out at the cars and listening to the music, and they were completely oblivious to this little goat with the rope around his neck hanging from the rail. And it was one of those deals where you, like, I don't know whether to get out of the car and go get the goat or maybe yell out the window to, hey, somebody check out the goat. Because I didn't want the kids and all the other kids that were watching at the time and other cars to be traumatized by this crazy little scene with the Holy Family and a dead goat hanging from a rope in the background. So it was awful. That's what it was. This little goat in peril. So anyway, I don't know why I think about that. I guess it's just because I'm a little warped, but it really happened, and so it kind of burrowed its way into my brain. Let me see we got here. We got a couple of folks that have chimed in for us. Al Arnold. Hey, Al, good to hear from you. They did a wonderful job. I have never seen one so beautiful. God bless everyone. Yeah, that whole production was really kind of amazing. Who else have I got here? Phil Lazenby from down South Alabama, Bay Minette area, Baldwin County. Amen, brother. What a great production to honor our Savior. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate your comment. And Al, yours as well. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I was had a busy year this year for Christmas, and I don't know about you, but those of you who are married, you ask your wife, what do you want for Christmas? Well, I don't want anything. And you're like, well, I know I want to get you something, to put under the tree. And, well, she'll say, what do you want? And I said, well, I don't need anything. If I need something, I go get it anyway. You know how guys are. And so I kept asking her, and I kept asking her, and finally, she started giving me these little hints. They were like jewelry catalogs, from K's and Zales and Joe Bros, and I don't know where they were all from, but all these little catalogs started appearing, in the chair next to where I watch television, and in my reading room, in the bathroom where I do my best reading sometimes, and bedside table. All these little jewelry catalogs started to appear, and consequently, it gave me a couple of hints as to what I needed to get her for Christmas, and I'm real proud to tell you that I think I fulfilled her wish because I got her a magazine rack. I've got this thing over here and I never use it. What's it called? Oh, yeah, here we go. I got her a magazine rack. Okay. Anyway, but that's better than what happened last year. Last year, she told me, she said, I want something that goes from 0 to 180 in 6 seconds. So I bought her some bathroom scales. If I remember correctly, I had to keep those stitches for about 6 weeks before they could come out. But with all that said, Christmas is always a special time. Hope you guys are making your New Year's resolution as we come up on that event this coming week. And, I remember last year I made a resolution. I was going to go on a 7-day diet, and I did, and I lost a week. Thank you. I'm here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Well, anyway, that's the podcast for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you enjoyed the video and the meaningful experience that we were able to produce for our guest here in the McCalla community. And I hope you all forget about the last 2 or 3 jokes, and please don't tell my wife. Is she listening now live? She may be listening. I'm not sure. But I want you to be sure and, have a happy new year, a safe one, if you would. Our boys in Crimson are going to be playing number 1 Indiana, so we'll all be on pins and needles for that one, I'm sure, on New Year's Day. I think it's New Year's Day. And nevertheless, I do thank you for joining me. It's been an interesting year. This is episode number 36, and I would have never dreamed that I've had this many in the cans. So here's my buddy Mike McGinnis from up in Chattanooga says, the sound effects, you can't spell, can you, Mike? The sound effects made me laugh, not so much for the jokes. Yeah, well. Well, anyway, I enjoyed being with you tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and leave a comment if you would. And this guy coming up is going to let you know what to do next. So he's a pretty smart fella and very, very handsome. So y'all have a great one and a happy new year. And we'll see you next year. That sounds kind of weird, but it's true. Take care. God bless you. Well, hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with me on Senior Moments. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure and tap that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. I'll be back soon with more stories from a misspent youth, and maybe some of yours too.